Welcome to A Strange New Pod, Episode 3. I will be your host this week, Hawk. With me, as always, is Julian.
Hello.
Brittany. And Erik.
Hi.
You want to know something cool?
What?
Yes.
The bum bums in the song totally keyed up to like the fireworks I'm hearing in the background outside.
Yeah, we have all the fireworks because we live in,
Keep on rocking.
In somewhere.
Well, we chose July 4th to record this episode, so...
Hey, it only affects half of our hosts.
True.
So, y'all live in that Canadian life. You already had Canada Day.
Yeah. It was very chill.
It was quiet.
It was. We
For
had
the most
fireworks, but
A little
they
bit.
just seem to keep on going off. Like it's a week of fireworks. I don't understand it.
It's
I know,
just
and 2:30
every day here.
2:30. Yeah, 2:30 in the
Every
I
morning.
just
single day.
assume that's a normal American thing that fireworks just go
It
off
is.
at night.
It's not
Jets
though
here
because
so much.
our state legalized them like fully, so everybody and their mother has fireworks now, and it's just like, that scene when I'm not going to spoil that for Brittany. Never mind.
What?
She's not
You
through
can say
Voyager
whatever
yet.
you
There's
want.
fireworks in Voyager, but I'm not going to give away when.
Oh, when people start running around with Roman candles, I understand.
Yeah.
They run out of phasers, so it's just Roman candles.
I love
That's
that
just
Roman
South
candle
Philly.
episode.
So here we are, Episode 3. Big thanks, as always, to Sam Dillard and Samo Studios for our awesome intro and outro music.
Yeah.
Bup.
Well, we have a little plug this week. Logical Coffee.
Tired of fresh coffee that loses its kick and tastes the same as every other brand? Unlike coffee that sits on a store shelf weeks after it's roasted, Logical Coffee is made to order and starts with fresh green coffee beans. This Star Trek-themed coffee is roasted to perfection in small batches and sealed away in one-way valve bags as soon as it cools. Your coffee will arrive on your doorstep with the roast date right on the bag, so you know it's the freshest coffee in the Alpha Quadrant. A cup of warp drive? Make it so. Ah, it's out of this world. Don't settle for the same replicated coffee. Make the logical choice and order Logical Coffee. Use the code ASTRANGENEWPOD to get 20% off your first order. Live long and drink coffee.
I love that.
This little baby did a commercial.
Wonderful.
It was a little laggy
Very
on my end, but still good.
I heard it quite clear. It was good.
Oh, nice.
You
So
just couldn't
announcement.
handle all the you couldn't buffer
Sorry.
your own voice in your head.
It's so powerful.
It really is. I also like it because I was like, my normal voice is down here a little bit, and I was like, let's be peppy and energetic. Drink some coffee today.
All right,
Anyway,
Hawk.
I felt like Barbie.
We need you to put your voice in that upper Brittany atmosphere now. Do it.
The It's
Gotta
Brittany
go
bitch register.
It's Brittany,
I love it.
bitch.
So, some announcements. With Lower Deck debuting on August 6th, as we wait for a trailer, filming news, and the eventual first season of Strange New Worlds, we'll be doing a weekly episode reviews of the new animated show. More details on that as the premiere grows closer. But let's talk about the show.
I'm very
This is-
excited to talk about it.
It's so exciting.
The new animated series created by Rick and Morty vet Mike McMahon will take place aboard the USS Cerritos, following ensigns Mariner, played by Tawny Newsome, Boiler, played by Jack Quaid, Rutherford, played by Eugene Cordero, and Tendi, played by Noel Wells.
I'm excited about the voice cast. As everybody knows, if they listen to Everything is Permitted, I'm a bit of a snob when it comes to animated things. And
He hates Rick and Morty.
Thanks for calling me out, Brittany. I think Rick and Morty's really stupid, so
It's just not his jam.
I'm cautiously optimistic about this show, but I'm going into it thinking that I might not love
Turn
it.
off the recording.
I don't even remember what episode we told you to watch, but we just had him watch one episode.
The
And we said, if you
Meepsies.
don't
You
like
told me
this,
to
you're
watch.
not gonna like it at all.
Yeah, and I didn't.
Mr. Meeseeks?
Yeah, Mr. Meeseeks.
Oh, I would have had
No.
I would have had him watch the Get Swifty episode. I think Matt told you to watch Meeseeks.
He did.
What about Pickle Rick?
I'm
Is that
writing.
right?
Pickle Rick.
I'm writing these down to give it another shot. Pickle Rick and what's the other one?
Get Swifty.
Get Swifty.
I don't know
Okay.
if that's the name of the episode, but you'll know when you see it.
There are better
Oh.
episodes. Like this season has just
There are
been-
way better episodes, but
but
Morty's
those are classic.
Morty's Mind Blowers is also a classic. You have to give that a watch. If you're going to dismiss the show, at least do it after watching Morty's Mind Blowers.
yeah.
These are all
Anything with
written
interdimensional
down.
cable is great.
It's the one with Snowball.
But Matt literally told me,
Oh,
if
that's
you
a-
don't like Mr. Mises, you're not going to like the show.
Not necessarily. Mr. Meeseeks is annoying.
Yeah,
So,
that's
you
what
That's the whole point of Mr. Meeseeks, though. It'd be the same voice arguing with itself in that room. You know,
Yeah.
look at me, I'm Mr. Meeseeks.
Yeah, but that can annoy people. What's the one with Snowball?
That's the second episode.
Where
now,
are my
they do,
balls, Summer? What did you
Where?
do with my balls?
Where are my testicles, Summer?
Yeah,
I
so
love
look up Lawnmower Dog. That's probably one of the best episodes.
Yeah.
Anatomy Park.
Yes.
Oh, I have that board game. That board game is
Is it actually good? No.
it's enjoyable. If like the hard part is you can't play Rick and Morty board games with people that haven't watched the show.
Yeah,
It's
that's
just it never works. Like I did the D&D. Somebody in my party didn't watch Rick and Morty, and they
fair.
tried to
That's
play.
not going to work
Summer.
out. No.
It was so bad. But I love DMing as
yeah.
Rick. I was like all the time.
He doesn't do that anymore as much.
Yeah.
Rattlestar Rick Lactica is actually really good.
Yes.
Um,
Isn't there
Probably
the Richurian candidate or some? Oh, there's
is
so
there-
many.
I'm
on
sure
this.
there's so many with the Rick. Yeah.
Anyway,
Anyway, those are
Julian,
good.
We won't hate you
Jill-
if you don't like it.
Yeah.
Mm.
So
Eric
gives you
begs to
pause
differ.
for the upcoming show, right?
So yeah, it gives me a little bit of pause because I'm already a dick about animation. Like I am. It's true. Like on our
Would
last
you consider
episode,
yourself to be a lower dick?
I think I would. I think I would. On our last episode of EIP, I was talking about how I watched the first season and first couple of episodes of season 2 of Avatar: The Last Airbender, and it's like not my favorite thing in the world. But I know. But
Oh my god, the gasps in this
Top
episode
10
are just,
anime betrayals.
I'm just gonna do this to myself because I think that you're all thinking it.
Get off my bridge.
We are all thinking it.
Just a little bit.
But yeah,
Like
but
you can come back on the bridge. Just like time out for a minute.
But listen, to be fair though, I'm going to give it a shot, and I have a feeling because it's Star Trek, I'm going to just automatically like it. Though I said that about Picard, and that didn't end up being true.
yeah.
We missed a couple of cast members on here as well. Like Jerry O'Connell's on
Yeah,
there.
Jerry O'Connell. It's amazing.
Jillian Vigman. Did we say that one?
oh,
No,
well,
we didn't
they're
say
at the
that.
bottom here. Yeah, we were going to get to that. Yeah.
Jerry O'Connell, though. Jerry
I know.
O'Connell.
I know.
I just noticed that down there.
Every time I think of Jerry O'Connell, I think Independence Day.
Yeah.
Yeah, irony. It's today.
Sliders.
Yeah. Jack
I guess
Quaid, though.
coincidence.
Oh my god, he's so good on The Boys. Right?
I still have to watch.
Still haven't watched it.
No,
No.
You're
I work in a
It's-
comic
it's
book
really
store
good.
and I haven't seen The Boys. I feel like
Oh.
a failure.
They did the comic book better than the comic book. If that makes
Ooh.
sense.
Well, that's good then.
It's yeah. Well, the comic book is very. I don't want to say the characters are 2-dimensional because they're not, but technically they are. But there's
They are
more
'cause
depth to
they're
them. I know. There's more depth to them in the show. Actually,
Don't you
It
love
was
when
an
3D
amazing-
actors can do that?
Right. That's Z
It was
axis, my friend.
It was an amazing adaptation of a Garth Ennis comic. Preacher didn't do it for me. This show totally did. So, if you
Didn't
haven't
Jerry
seen it,
O'Connell-
see it.
Didn't Jerry O'Connell also go on to have like a really good country music career?
Did
I
he?
don't know.
I think he did.
I know he was Superman for a long
possibly.
time.
Yeah. I'm thinking
I'm
the
definitely-
right Jerry O'Connell, right? Like Independence Day alongside Will Smith, Jerry O'Connell?
No, Jerry O'Connell is
I
Sliders.
don't know who any of
Jerry
these people
O'Connell.
are.
Sliders. He married Rebecca Romaine.
Yeah, he's he
He
played-
married number one,
Yeah.
Ellis.
Yeah, no, Jerry O'Connell. What? Oh, no, wait. Am I
Wouldn't
thinking
that
of
make
Harry
two
Connick
Stand By
Jr.?
Me kids in the Star Trek
Harry
universe.
Connick
'Cause Will
Jr.
Wheaton-
is in Independence Day.
It's Harry. I always get Jerry O'Connell and Harry Connick Jr. mixed up.
Really?
God damn it.
But
Yep.
but one
It's their
sings so
names.
beautifully.
And one does not.
Yeah, one does not. Out of these people that we just talked about, Eugene Cordero is the one I'm really looking forward to because he was on The Good Place. He was the best friend of Jason.
Oh,
That's
his
yet
friend
a-
that locked him in or that got
That
locked
locked him in the
Yeah,
Oh,
and that's how
damn.
he died.
Pillboy.
Pillboy, yes. Oh my
Pillboy,
god, how did I forget
yeah.
Pillboy?
That's another show that I'm meaning to watch, and Karen watched without me, and I have to find time to actually watch.
I will watch it with you on the
It's
internet.
worth it.
I'm
because
down.
Yeah.
It's one of my favorite
love that
shows of all
show.
time. So Pillboy's on here, and he was also on The Mandalorian. So Star Wars, Star Trek, A Good Place. 3 of my favorite
This
things.
is the way.
This is the way.
This is the way.
It's like everything that I'm like hesitant about is on the show except for Jerry O'Connell and things that like I don't know about. So I'm just like, oh my god, it's the unknown. It's into the unknown. Sorry, had to.
Into
Oh,
the
God.
unknown.
I still haven't seen that movie.
You should. It's so much better than the first one.
Frozen 2 is awesome.
Way better.
Yep.
Way
Wow.
better.
I'll see it eventually.
See,
I have
now
Disney
we have Disney
Plus.
Plus. Exactly. It's the only thing that plays on Disney Plus for me. Oh my god.
So, Julian, do you have any reservations about a more comedic take on Star Trek? That the show?
No, I don't. I love comedy. I love all of the TNG comedy episodes. I love a lot of the DS9 comedy episodes. And there's not so many comedy episodes in Voyager. There's not really any in Discovery or Picard except maybe the heist one, and that's still pretty dark. No, I'm ready for some funny Trek and some comedic Trek. I just the animation part is always what really kind of just makes me nervous because I'm such a stickler for it. But no, I'm ready to laugh my ass off about ensigns who can't get the job done. So
As long as it feels like it's in Star Trek, I'll be fine with it. But if it totally takes like a left turn, that's when I'm
Yeah.
gonna be like,
Well, yeah.
that belongs in Rick and Morty.
yeah, if it's Rick and Morty in space, then I'm going to be really disappointed.
Rick and Morty is in space.
Rick and Morty in Star Trek
It's okay.
space.
Yeah.
But like this is a cool premise because every single time I watch a Star Trek show, I'm always wondering what are the lower deck people up to right now. I joked about it before. What happened to the mailroom? But like, I want to know what all these ensigns are doing all the time.
Yeah.
Their shenanigans.
It's true. I mean, these crews are usually up to 400, 500 people, and we
Yeah.
only ever really get to see a handful of them at any given
Yeah,
time.
we see like 10 throughout 7 seasons, and then it's like, oh yeah, remember all the other 300 people on the ship?
Well, and a lot of what the series is getting, what the series is inspired by is that TNG episode Lower Decks, which has some comedic moments, but actually ends up being a really dark episode. It's they kind of bring in Nurse Ogawa to be the one who and I'm kind of stealing a little bit from Star Trek Discovery Pod because I think Mariah may have mentioned this on their show that they brought kind of Nurse Ogawa in so they had a recognizable face, but it's about these 3 ensigns who are all up for promotion. And they're all kind of like, it's like a friendly competition. And of course, this is the final season of TNG. So it's during, the DS9, kind of the issues are going on with the Cardassians. And one of the ensigns is Bajoran. And I think she gets the promotion. And Picard's like, I have a very important mission for you. And she goes with a Cardassian defector and unfortunately gets killed. It ends up being a really rough episode that was otherwise kind of meant to, I think, be a little bit of a relief, and it didn't really end up being. But that's kind of the inspiration for the show. Like, what are the other people doing? And that's what's got me excited, minus the animation.
Yeah, that was
was a
one of the
great episode.
saddest episodes of Keeping Up with Kardashians.
Oh, you stole it! I was trying to say that.
Shut up,
I
Wesley.
saw you wanting to joke.
I was sitting
Not
there.
in
I was
my
like,
house. Don't be a Bejor loser.
Oh my god!
I'm trying to up my pun game. It's gonna happen one day. One day.
You gotta be
it'll happen.
faster than me. Oh, you guys
know.
want to know a fun fact?
Sure.
Do you know how this ship is called the USS Cerritos?
Yes.
Yes.
Cerritos means little hills in Spanish.
Interesting.
I always think it's interesting they choose names of ships because it's like, how does Little Hills, how is that gonna play into the show?
I
Or
guess
maybe
there were
not
a
at all.
lot of obstacles for them to go through, like little hills, right? In that episode.
Yeah,
for sure.
the ups and downs of the ship.
Yes, exactly.
It's peaks and
Gonna be a
valleys.
bumpy ride. Yeah.
What I hope for Lower Decks is to see those weird sections of the ship that we don't know about, but we hear about in the blueprints. Like for the Enterprise
Yeah.
D, they had the Cetacean section, the one with the whales. Did you not hear about this?
The Enterprise D had whales.
Yeah, so there's a section with
Remember
How
when
whales.
they
do I
started
not know this?
and they helped with navigation and stuff.
Bullshit.
Yes,
No.
I will find it. They actually talk about it in one of the episodes. Like, yesterday's Enterprise. They talk about it. Yeah.
Well, what do you know?
Wait, like the finale of Enterprise when Riker and Troy are in the holodeck?
Here you go. Sending it to you.
Oh, dude.
He's beaming
I
it
gotta
over.
see
Use
this.
your sound effects.
What?
Space whales?
They were regular whales in space. Yep.
They should call it their whale room.
Oh my god. That they are actually crew members
They're
and
crew
form
members.
a guidance and navigation consultation team. Bullshit.
You've never heard of Ensign
heard of
Willie?
this.
Free Ensign Willie was an entire film. Star
Yeah.
Trek 18.
This is the section I want to see on the show.
Instead
The
of
whale
Into
section.
Darkness, it was Into SeaWorld.
Could you imagine if
The
there
whole
was
thing.
an ensign that where this one of these whales wanted to be free, and they do the Free Willy shot? Oh
Would
my
that be
God, I
his?
want it.
Would that be his purpose in life?
Oh Lord.
To boldly go where no whale has gone before. I could just
So
see like Picard's like,
I am not often less speechless.
"You're welcome."
Ron Moore, I want to see these whales. I need these
Yes.
whales in my life. Give them to me. That's all I'm saying.
I'm
imagine-
cool
Is this
with-
directly connected with Star Trek 4?
No,
It could be.
it's the Star Trek: The Next Generation Enterprise D technical manual.
I know I have
Yeah,
it.
Julie,
somewhere,
don't you have that book of all the ship schematics?
I have the first edition of the Star Trek Encyclopedia and the second edition of the Star Trek Encyclopedia, and I've read those from, back to front, and there's nothing mentioned about whales.
You gotta
Whale
update your
shit.
books,
Well,
apparently.
except in Star Trek 4.
I'm fine with Star Trek expanding however it needs to with as many shows as
Holy
possible. Maybe we're gonna get a whale show.
So in this week's episode, we are looking at the classic two-parter, The Menagerie. So The Menagerie was a really smart way to incorporate the unaired at the time footage from the cage into what ends up being a fairly dramatic and important episode of Trek. What worked here that didn't work in the cage?
Everything.
Everything.
It's funny because
Literally.
when we were doing the watch along today, the first 5 minutes of the Menagerie was more exciting than all of the cage.
It really was.
All of it.
Yeah.
We're just sitting there typing like we were doing our Discord chat. We're just like, already. Even when they started showing the cage, it was way more suspenseful watching Kirk watch it than us actually watching the cage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They had such an amazing setup for it, and that especially when they were reintroduced to Pike, and that, and he's just this lifeless man in this wheelchair with this horrible burn mark across his face. He can't speak; he can only move his eyes.
Yeah, and kind of what to Eric said, just the excitement of the fact that why the hell are we at this starbase? Like we sent no message. What's going on? Why is the Enterprise here? And Kirk's like, duh, my first officer got one. I believe everything he says. That's why we're here. And they're like, well, you need to look into that shit because something is up. And Christopher Pike is a vegetable.
Plus, you got to see the flower badges, which
Yep.
very much confused me.
Yep. That's before they went to the uniform Delta crest. They had a bunch of different crests for if you were at a starbase or if you were, Commodore or an Admiral or, there's so many different roles. And I think later on in Starfleet, I think after Kirk got promoted to Admiral, they kind of streamlined roles. But yeah, like the Commodore and his staff had that star badge.
Yeah, I love the little triangle one on the formal dress.
Yeah.
Oh man, so cool.
Yep.
We were all down with the costume.
The
for this
formal dress?
episode. No, like
Yeah.
all of it, all of the outfits and everything. The whole, and then we got to see the beach wear again. Amazing.
Yeah.
Incredible.
I love considering the fact that since the original audience of Star Trek back in the 60s probably never even got to see the cage, they had no idea why Spock was doing this, why he was deliberately kidnapping the ship and kidnapping Pike. they
Yeah,
had
and
no
lying.
context for this relationship.
Well, technically, Spock never lied.
True.
That's the one thing with Spock. He's always kind of rode that line of not lying, but could it
Like
be
withholding the truth.
Yeah, I didn't straight up lie, but I did withhold a lot. But again, everything that Spock does is logical, and I think in Star Trek 6, what's her name? Lieutenant Verlaris is like a lie, and he goes something like I implied or something like that. Yeah. So
We were talking about how like the stakes were really high because we had like the audience at this point had gone through 11 episodes together with this crew, so we had seen their bond grow, and we knew how close Bones and Spock and Kirk were. But to see him just like sort of flip the script and go against everyone, it's crazy. Like
Vulcan nerve pinching people left and right.
Him
you
getting
see
punched
Kirk
in the head
deal
a couple
with that
times.
too,
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah,
But,
yeah.
Kirk wants to be like, this is, the person I trust to not be lying or persuading me to do anything. And now all of a sudden he's dealing with the fact that he's low-key controlling where the ship is going right now. And that message is actually being relayed from Talos 4. Like, what is going on? So I think it's a really cool way to open the episode, because as an audience, you're like, okay, yeah, I believe that, Kirk and the crew are here for this reason, because that's what the episode is telling me, and they wouldn't go somewhere without a reason, right?
Yeah,
And
there's
then
some great acting by Kirk.
Yeah.
By Shatner.
Shatner
it's immediately
killed
amazing.
it in this episode. To be fair, everyone killed it in this episode. DeForest Kelly was really good because, listen, he's got this kind of like love-hate relationship with Spock. They're always butting heads, but at the end of the day, he's his friend, and he doesn't want to have to, arrest him, and he doesn't want to believe that Spock could go against orders. Just the whole cast was fantastic, and I think someone who does get a little bit not talked about in this episode, I don't know the actor's name, the guy who played the Commodore was very good as well. I really liked him. So
His name was
Malachi
Malachi Throne.
Malachi?
Ooh, Malachi.
Malachi.
That is until he
Malachi.
disappears in like hologram form. And they're like, haha, it was a projection all along.
I forgot about that actually.
That was a cool part,
Yeah.
right? Because then the people on Talos are like, wah, 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 wah. Kirk, we had to make sure you were like who Spock said you were
Gotcha.
gonna be. Yeah. And I was like, oh, court martial never happened.
No. There was one part I really, really enjoyed is when Kirk was in the shuttlecraft and he was following the Enterprise. And the Commodore's like, you know what? We're going to run out of gas. We can go back or we can keep going. And Kirk's like, well, we're going to keep going. It's such a badass part for Kirk. But also, that Kirk knows Spock enough that he knew that Spock would come back for him. Like, he wouldn't let him just...
He wouldn't let him die because they had 2 hours of oxygen left too. He's like, yeah okay.
He
Turn the
knows
ship
his
around.
measure as a man, right?
Spock is his rock.
Did you just make a TNG reference in your sentence by accident or on purpose?
I did that on purpose.
I love it. Can we just all agree that any episode of Star Trek that has a court martial in it, which is quite a few, tends to be really, really good?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they are really good. You don't want them to
thinking-
happen, but then they do.
I was thinking of the TNG episode. Do you remember the drumhead?
Yes, fantastic.
Yeah, the sabotage on board the Enterprise, and that lady she goes full Joe McCarthy on everybody.
Yeah, she loses the plot completely and has to kind of admit that at the end. I think Picard just at one point is just like he puts the whole thing to an end. It's like, enough of this. You've gone too far. Yeah.
I just got some Battlestar vibes from that.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
My
Battlestar.
favorite trial episode is the one with in TNG with Wesley and Nick Locarno and
The one at Starfleet Academy.
yeah,
Yeah.
First Duty, right?
Yep.
First Duty. Oh man, that was one of my favorite ones.
That's a great episode.
I was, what kind of pissed me off about Voyager was that they should have, with the Tom Paris role, probably should have been Nick Locarno.
Yeah, they didn't want, because Locarno was expelled, right? They didn't want him to be like redeemable, I guess.
Yeah.
Because he had killed someone. They wanted Robert Duncan McNeil. Is that his name?
Yeah, Robert Duncan McNeil.
Yeah, to come back because they loved him so much in that episode. So, they just went someone sort of close.
I think that was a a missed opportunity on their part because they could have done a whole redemption arc. Because, when you recast someone and they leave such a mark, especially in an episode like that, it's hard to separate the two. And people always talk about, oh, Tom Paris is basically Nick Locarno.
How amazing would it have been if Tom Paris was actually Nick Locarno and
changed
he
his
just
name,
forged all his documents, right?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
That would be really cool.
And then we had to find out why Tuvok was on like the Enterprise B and stuff like that.
Yeah, right. And the Excelsior.
Yeah. Oh, so strange. Didn't they explain that in Voyager?
They did. They did a whole Excelsior episode with Sulu and everything. It was fantastic. Can't wait for you to get to that one, Brittany.
Oh, I'm chugging away, guys. It's
Yeah.
going great.
Excellent.
So when I come home from work, I watch Voyager with my cat, and it's
Yeah.
wonderful.
Drinking your logical coffee?
Not that late at night.
That's fair. That's fair.
In the morning, yes. I drink it every morning. I just grind
So
away.
can I throw out a couple fun facts here actually
Yes.
about this episode?
Yeah.
The reason that Roddenberry actually wrote and produced this episode, they had a contract schedule for delivering episodes to Desilu for airing,
Mhm.
and they had fallen behind. I think probably a week or two. So Roddenberry wrote the Menagerie as a two-parter in that to give them, because they only needed 1 week to film both parts of it.
Yeah.
And it
Makes sense.
it helped them free up their schedule.
Yeah. And I think the turnaround was also just a week. Like editing and music just took no time.
Which
Yeah.
is crazy because it's already that much better than The Cage. And how much time did they put in The Cage?
So much better.
I would say the first part is so much better. The second part ended
That's
up
fair.
being basically
Like, kind
the
of-
Cage.
It was the case.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
I
a
was
lot of
talking to-
shows do
yeah.
that when they recap.
Yeah.
Like even in animation, like they'll have an episode that's like filler and they'll reuse footage from previous episodes. And it's just because it's like they could not afford in their budget to have another full episode.
You mean Stargate SG-1?
Oh.
You mean the last season of Legend of Korra?
Oh.
Just the one episode.
So good.
But that's definitely why they did it.
yeah.
Just the one episode.
They were so mean to the
It was really
that
good, though.
team. Yes, it was.
Right? Nickelodeon, get your poop together.
Well, yeah, they're getting better, I guess. Who knows? I forgot where I was going with this. Oh, I remember talking to Julian when we were watching it all together with our peeps on Discord.
Join our Discord.
Yeah. And
Our Discord is awesome.
we were sitting there in the second episode and I was like, I don't remember the last time I saw Kirk and crew. And he's like, and you were like, yeah, they just showed him for like 2 seconds. I was like, God damn.
Yeah, you literally missed it. It was hilarious.
Yeah.
I zoned out because it was just the cage, and I was like, "Oh my god, this again."
Yeah, that is the hard part of it. And then sometimes it'll flick out of the cage and like, how are we getting this view on the screen? Like there was no recording device around there, and Spock's like, I can't tell you. And that's the like you see him for half a second. That's literally verbatim the dialogue, and then it flicks back to the cage, and you're like, oh god, I gotta do it again.
I really wish that Spock had been like, spoilers.
Spoilers, sweetie. I love it.
Oh my god.
Spoilers.
But yeah, I think this made the cage better. I would never go back and watch the cage again. But if somebody's like, hey, I want to talk to you about the cage, I'd be like, oh, you mean Menagerie? Which explains the cage
Yeah.
in a better way.
I
Poor,
wonder.
poor Pike.
I wonder how much they had to keep in that second episode, right? Because there were some parts that you could have edited out and put some.
They didn't have to do anything about the Orion slave girls, but they just wanted to put the part in where like, it's been told that human men can't resist them, and of course immediately pan to Kirk and be like, challenge accepted.
Yeah. That and they were like, what was the runtime? Okay, yeah. We're
gotta
not
add a
editing
little
that
bit
out.
Did anyone else notice that when Kirk and crew landed on the starbase at the beginning of the first episode, and that female crew member was there? He's just like,
Yeah. She
yeah.
stands up at the desk. Yeah.
This
yeah.
episode implies like 3 different times, as we all know, that Kirk likes to bone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So funny.
Yeah.
And then all the like the scene that she's in gets all blurry and like lovely. I guess that
Yeah.
old time lovely.
Yeah, like when they put Vaseline on the filter just to make them look softer, that like black and white. Oh god. But anyway, Kirk should have been called Bones because we know what he's about.
Yeah. The episode is a big deal because it not only implies and builds upon the fact that Pike and Spock have a close relationship, but that Spock went against every fiber of his being, disobeying Starfleet and Kirk to help his friend. Would you say this was his human side coming out, or in Spock's mind, was this purely a choice made because of the logic was sound?
Oh, I feel like this is the perfect mix for him, right? He is that human Spock, human
Human Spock hybrid.
Human Spock hybrid.
now I lost it.
He's a Cylon.
But like, it's so empathetic for him to go and help his friend, but he went with the most logical way of doing it, which is so Spock. And just like everything he went through, like it had been planned so meticulously that it was just so perfect. Like it shows him it's like the perfect example of him being him, if that makes sense.
So I'm going to completely disagree with you for a second, because he could be like, well, my logic was sound, and this was completely done because it made complete and total sense. And why would you? Because Kirk's like, I want to talk to you. Was this something more? He's like, why would you insult me like that, Captain? Bullshit, dude. You staged a court martial. If that's not your human side and love for theatrics coming out, I don't know what is, my friend.
I don't know.
100%.
I feel like that's him, like his logical side saying this is the most logical way of showing Kirk why this had to happen. And
staging a court martial? He's his best friend. He could have just been like, "Yo, Jim, my captain's in a wheelchair. He's never gonna move again. Let me get him to these dudes who can give him some good drugs and hallucinate that he's his normal self for the rest of his life." And Jim would have been like, "Yeah, okay, bud, let's go." If we're putting this into like the 2020s,
he even says that.
Yeah, he even says like, "Dude, you could have just asked
if
me."
If Spock would have said, "I need to visit Pike because these things happened," I would have let it happen.
And don't get me wrong, like I love this episode and all the drama works and the court martial stuff is great, but that is like the perfect argument that this is Spock being human without having to like tell people that he's being human. When you stage a court martial, man, you just love theater, and I appreciate that as an ex-theater major. So
They even got to change. They had a costume change and everything.
Spock
knew. Spock
they went
knew
in
what
the
he was
formal
about.
gear. He's like, I just want to be in the formal stuff today.
Spock was literally
wrong?
like, "How can I be an extra hoe today, or a dramatic hoe today?" And then he's like, "And how can I justify it with logic?"
I don't get to use my fancy boots that often. Let's do it. Let's do it up.
It's like, let's tuck those pants right into those boots, kids.
Are my eyebrows done properly today? Yeah, let's do it.
Oh my god.
Is this a failure of Spock in his relationship with Kirk, that he couldn't trust him?
I feel no. I think this is that part of this. He understood his friendship enough that he realized that he had to do it in a certain way.
That he had to trick him.
That he had to trick him.
He's like, "Kirk loves me so much, I have to court-martial his ass." Or have myself be court-martialed.
Maybe he knows that Kirk likes dressing up as well, and he doesn't do it often.
All seriousness to my point aside, that I think this was his human side coming out. Like Spock is still half Vulcan too. Like, logic is very important to him. So I do think that this specific aspect was his logic coming out, being like, this is the choice and this is the way we do this because it's the most logical, not because I don't trust my best friend, but because logic dictates that I do it this way.
What if it wasn't just for Kirk, right? It could have been for Bones and Scotty, everyone that was in that room.
Well, there's got to be probable deniability, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he was protecting them, like with this entire ruse of the court martial.
Sometimes it's to protect, mostly it's to attack. Sometimes it's to get your captain back.
Red alert! All hands to battle stations!
Oh my god, amazing.
Thanks. I didn't know where I was going with that sentence until I finished it, and then I was like, there it is. The joke wanted to come out. I didn't know what I was saying.
I have to make a meme about this now. And it's going to show up right here.
We Spock as a cat. First he protect, then he attack. Mostly he want his captain back. Anyway.
Anywho, yes.
Menagerie is really good first part. Not so good second half.
Yeah, agreed.
The Menagerie turns into the cage in the second half.
Exactly. Yep.
The best parts were in the courtroom, right?
Yes, 100%.
When we were watching the cage, it was just like, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the dialogue. Seeing the Commodore and Kirk go off, even though they weren't really going off against each other.
Oh,
Like, it was
speaking of the Commodore, sorry, Eric. Dude, when Spock's like, well, Captain, there is one more ranking official aboard this ship. And Kirk's like, what are you talking about, Spock? And the Commodore's like, dude, Pike, we didn't have the heart to retire him. I'm like,
Yes.
man, how do you not retire him? Like, what's he going to do? Command a starship with yes beeps and no beeps?
And he was
He
a
might.
he was a fleet captain. They
He
said,
was,
right?
yeah.
Which I thought
3
was weird.
beeps for engage.
Like all they need to do there is be Captain Christopher Pike, fleet captain, retired. He still has his rank, just like Picard. Admiral Jean-Luc Picard, retired. Period. End of story.
Make
Come
him
on.
ambassador.
Pike
He's
just
not
won't
gonna
take
do
a hike though.
Oh man, that broke my heart.
The hike or the
No, the fact that they like that he straight up
Yeah,
says
yeah.
we didn't have the heart to retire him. I'm like,
Yeah.
dude, you could still give him all his Starfleet and Federation benefits and still retire him.
yeah.
He's so
don't-
sad.
It,
was.
I don't know why that hit me so much, but like I was talking about it in the chat. I was like,
It's because
Really?
you're picturing Anson Mount because you love him so much that
Dude.
now you're imagining him having this
My
fate,
heart-
and it's just
my
hurting
heart.
you.
yeah,
Yeah. It does seem a little weird that they just didn't retire him.
yeah.
Yeah,
Maybe
let
it's
him
because-
retire to a horse farm. Damn it!
Maybe-
Let him have
maybe-
those little ponies.
They should have just meant like, do you want to retire? 1 beep or no? 1 beep or 2 beeps?
He would have been like, beep beep, no,
I
and
guess-
then they
I
wouldn't.
guess we'll
They
keep
wouldn't be
you.
able to argue.
Do you want your own ship? Beep.
Beep.
Does it? Oh no, I
USS
can't make that joke.
Enterprise.
Never mind.
Why did they never envision a voice synthesizer way back when?
Maybe they said he was so far gone that it was just like nothing, right?
Did anybody ever ask
could've
him if he just wanted to be put out of his misery? Like,
Yeah.
you know,
He could have done one of those speak and spell things where it's like weirdly
Like the
wheezing.
guy-
just like,
Like the guy in
The cow goes
the,
moo.
yeah.
the guy in the old Metallica video from that old movie.
Oh God, no.
Remember one?
Yes,
He
I
just-
understand.
Like yeah. Some old movie. A guy has his arms, legs, face blown off, and that by a landmine. They keep him alive, but he can't hear, he can't see, he can't speak, and all he can do is tap out in Morse code, "Kill me," over and over again.
Jesus.
Well, that's
Yes.
the nurse.
Well, this
eventually
is
realized
depressing.
It was
Yeah.
that, right? It was, what was the movie called? Johnny Got His Gun. There you go.
I thought that was
Yes.
the Jason Robards movie that they showed in that video.
Nope. I am
Okay.
on Wikipedia.
when
Johnny,
in
go
doubt,
get your
Eric has
gun.
the Wikipedia.
All right, back to the menagerie. No more sad Metallica.
You know
So
what they
I
should have had in the
believe-
menagerie?
What?
Whales.
Yes. There was one thing I
Nice
asked
segue.
the group
You're welcome.
and none of us knew, and it was whether they had rescored the cage parts because it felt more
Dramatic.
dramatic
Oh,
and
yeah.
entertaining. Like, was Alexander Courage there for the original
Well,
pilot?
they did the pilot comes to the da, na, 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 so he wrote that, so he had to have been, but they still could have rescored the whole thing.
yeah because it definitely felt more.
Yeah.
Everything felt
They
better.
they did a
It
bit
did.
of rescoring and stuff and re-editing and for the cage. I was going to mention about Malachi Throne, the guy who played Commodore Mendez. According to Wikipedia, he was the one who originally did the voice for the Keeper in the unaired version of the cage,
Oh, interesting.
and they
Hmm.
recast him in the Menagerie. So they had to electronically alter the voice of the Keeper.
Oh, okay.
And eventually that re-altered dialogue for the Keeper made it into the cage when they finally put it together and actually aired the original. And Malachi Throne reappeared in TNG years later as Senator Pardak.
Oh, nice.
Yes. In the two-parter, the reunification.
Reunification.
Lastly, how important will it be in Strange New Worlds to make sure the reasoning for Spock's decisions in the Menagerie get fleshed out? Did Discovery do a good job of planting these initial seeds? Do you think we see a relationship akin to what Spock had with Kirk or something entirely different?
It's weird because in Discovery, we didn't really see the whole cage stuff, and I know they touched upon it, but I like we talked about last episode. If Pike does revisit these thoughts throughout the season, I think that would be really cool because we do know that it's gonna eventually head that way. So
I was gonna say I'm excited for like the Spock and Pike dynamic to happen, and I feel like there's enough room where they could still end up matching where that's at in Menagerie, because they can grow to have that sort of bond together. Where
Yeah.
even if Pike ends up having this horrible fate, whether or not that's going to happen, Spock would be willing to do the same things that he does in Menagerie for him, regardless of whether he wants him to or not. So I feel like our Spock in Strange New Worlds, I think that bond will still happen.
Yeah, I mean, this series hopefully will be on for a while. Like, I'm hoping for 5 to 7 seasons. Like, that would be good new Trek. That's normally what a season of Trek should be, in my opinion. That's plenty of time to show us why Spock would risk everything to get Pike back to Talos 4, because they say it at the beginning of this episode, like they served on the Enterprise for 7 years together. That's 7 years before Spock even met Kirk, or maybe they met in passing, but established a relationship. Like, that's a long time.
Yeah, and we already know that the relationship is pretty strong because Pike did so much for Burnham.
Yes,
right.
Yes,
and to get Spock back.
To get Spock back, yeah. I wonder how far into their relationship was the cage. Like, do we know in the 7 years where it sort of
See, that's a good question, right?
Yeah.
Because in the cage, Pike's talking about being tired and wanting to maybe retire, and there's other options for me. So it'd be interesting to know and find out.
Raiding Orion slave girls.
Yeah, right. And this is a little bit off the subject, but one point that I was hoping was going to be in this episode, because I had the feeling that they had already met. They mentioned very clearly that Kirk has met Pike before. They met when Pike was promoted to fleet captain. Now, listen, that's something that we could see happen in Strange New Worlds. He's captain of the Enterprise. It wouldn't be a shock if the Enterprise was the flagship at this point in Starfleet's history as too. The Enterprise has been the flagship in Star Trek history a bunch. So that's something that could happen. And how cool would it be at that ceremony if there's just a young, I keep saying it, I think in every episode, to have a young Jim Kirk show up and like, hey, Lieutenant Jim Kirk. Oh, hey, Captain Pike. I just would love that scene.
Yeah. They definitely leave room for it.
Yes, totally. I got to give Gene Roddenberry props for naming this episode The Menagerie, which is pretty much just a different way of saying a cage.
The cage, yeah.
Yeah.
So,
but it's fancier. He knew it was going to be a slightly better cage, so he was like, a menagerie.
It sounds fancier. We got some Canadians on here. We got to add some flair.
We rescored.
Yes.
Hailing frequencies are open.
So
It's
this is a section of the
mail
podcast where we go to the mailbag. Who would like to handle the first one?
I can do it.
Boy.
I will do it. It's from Ned Schimmelfinney. Is this an email or is this on?
So all of our mailbag this week, thank you so much to the awesome people who took the time on the Strange New Worlds, the new Star Trek Strange New Worlds Reddit subreddit. So thank all of you for participating and, taking our call basically for some deep thoughts about this episode and other things we talked about. So
I thought I saw this somewhere. Not that I'm on Reddit all the time. I am on Reddit all the time. All right.
He read it on there, though.
I read it from Ned Schimmelfinney. He has 3 points. I will say them all. Number 1, the Menagerie was a clever way of reusing the footage from the pilot, and I enjoyed the courtroom drama. I believe we all did.
Yep,
Yeah,
that's what made the episode, right?
This is
It
the
made
best
it.
part.
Yeah, for sure. Number 2, we've somehow got to get Spock from being the guy who was caught smiling when he first boarded the Enterprise to being the virtually emotionless Spock from the original series. I don't think number 1, telling him to hide his crazy will be enough to get us there. So, Spock trying to suppress his emotions may lead to friction between he and Pike at times. Ultimately, though, Spock will develop a deep respect for Pike, and Pike will feel the same way about Spock. I don't think the relationship will be all that different from the relationship between Kirk and Spock. Thoughts on this one?
I think it is going to be different. And some other people later in the mailbag are going to mention that, Pike has more of a mentor relationship to Spock than, this deep friendship. I'm not going to say that they're not going to end up friends and have a close relationship, but I don't think anything could top the bond that Kirk and Spock have, if that makes sense.
Yeah. That's kind of, it's, that's Kanan. That's
exactly
what everybody thinks of, as far as like relationship in Star Trek, Spock and Kirk. It's a paradigm. I think this is all new territory in that. Going back to when we were talking about if the initial seeds were planted in Discovery, the way the Discovery's plot lines work involving Spock and Pike and that, they were mostly separated in that. So we didn't really get to explore a lot of fleshed out relationship between the two on that show. So this is all, Strange New Worlds will be like,
a strange new world.
Strange new world.
You know what, Eric? You know what? You know what?
Shut up, Wesley.
I got one.
You did.
Yay.
I have I don't know if I would say Spock was emotionless in the original series. Like he had suppressed his emotions a lot, but it was his human side came out. And
It did.
I think this is a good example of an episode where his human side did come out. Definitely their relationship is it's gonna be awesome. It's gonna be new. I don't think he's gonna be emotionless, and I don't think he's gonna be the super smiley Spock of the cage because that's creepy.
Well, I think Ned has a good point, right? Like, when Number One says to him in that short trek, like, basically hide is crazy. I don't think it is going to be enough. I think that's a good point. Like, it's going to come out from time to time. This is still a fairly young Spock,
I would love to see it more too. Like, to be honest, I want to see that younger Spock that's a little uncontrolled.
Yeah.
So you think he will engage?
I'm not even going to give you anything for that. That was weak sauce.
Fair enough.
Weak sauce.
You're saying like, oh, I don't want him to like suppress his emotions, whatever. But is he engaging with others?
You're being quite a bajor.
I'm just gonna go number 3. I'm going to watch Lower Decks because I want more Star Trek content, but I'm not excited about it as I am for the live action content.
That's where I'm at.
Yeah, I think that's about fair.
Yeah, I think it's just gonna be something new and different, and more Trek is always good. That's, I guess, what I feel.
I hope it's hilarious and becomes my favorite show. Because that would be cool. But like my expectations aren't that high for it. It's more like, oh, cool. In the meantime, we also get this Trek show.
Yeah. What I'm looking forward to is not having a depressing Star Trek show.
Yeah.
Which we've had for years at this point.
Yep.
Yeah.
Not to say that I don't think Discovery is depressing.
I think at times it is though. It got better last season.
It's very heavy.
I would say
It's
dark,
heavy.
not
I'll go
depressing.
heavy.
Yeah.
Not depressing, yeah.
Battlestar Galactica is
lighter.
depressing.
Yeah.
As long as you get an episode where it's like the fate of the universe isn't involved, and
Yes.
make it
I don't want
just
them to-
more of a localized event, that'd be fantastic.
I love how the ship on the lower decks, it looks like all the important stuff is on the bottom.
Yeah.
Just based on the ship. And that's how they designed it. Anyway, as long as Lower Decks is better than Star Trek the animated series, I'll be happy.
Yep.
That's some shade to animated series Star Trek.
That's a very, very low bar, Eric.
It was a low bar, but it's a bar that it needs to,
It's one that we can hurdle easily.
Yeah. Anyway, so that's all from Reddit's Ned Schimmelfinney. Thank you, Ned Schimmelfinney.
Thanks, Ned.
I love that name. That's great.
And we have another submission from a Fisson Telmore.
I think it's Fist and Tell More. Like fists and tell more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we'll throw this to Julian.
Oh no, I'm gonna do the last ones. Don't throw it at me.
Oh, you want the last one?
I do.
Sorry.
I'll do the fist.
You want Fist and Tell More?
Yep. Fist of
Okay.
legend here. Okay, from Fist and Tell More. I feel like the Pike Spock relationship will be more paternal or mentor than brother in arms / confidant.
I can see that.
Did we get that feeling from Discovery?
I just don't know how to place the relationship yet.
We haven't seen enough.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
we don't know. I would be
No,
fine
we-
with that. I feel like a mentor type thing, especially since he's so green on the ship.
Yeah.
Or at least it feels like he's so new. Yeah, I like it. As long as it's not exactly Kirk and Spock
Yeah, exactly.
relationship, I'm down. Yeah, I'm down with that. Down with it. And his ship mom could be number 1.
Yeah.
Sitcom
Oh my
Toll.
god, I love it.
Yep.
Oh my god, I need that dynamic now.
It's a sitcom. Oh my god.
Maybe that's why he shaved his beard, because he just wanted to be more like Pike. He was just like, "Hey, Dad, do you accept me now?"
To be fair, Vulcans are very clean
Fine.
cut,
They are.
Fair.
Except for when they're going through it.
except when they're going
Like
a little
Spock.
loony. Yep.
I understand as someone who has not shaved in like a little bit.
As you have like the tiniest goatee and mustache. What?
I'm Asian. It's not my fault. It doesn't grow.
I know, but it's just really funny.
There's
Oh,
no
God.
hair anywhere.
You'd be fine. You'd fit in Vulcan society. Bare minimum.
Minus the logic.
Yeah. Straight out of that. So, they continue to say Spock and Kirk were peers, along with McCoy, with Spock being willing to disregard rank if he believed himself justified.
Yeah, that would be. I feel like if Pike was the person who made him that, although he sort of felt like that in Discovery, like he did his thing because he had to. Maybe that's always just been Spock.
Pike is,
Yeah. That is his thing.
yeah. I think that he might have gotten this from Pike though, because I very much got the feeling that, kind of along with Kirk, but even maybe to a more, I would say even maybe to a more extreme level, like Pike was very much like cowboy diplomacy. Like if he was on a mission, he was going to do it, and he would be kind of one of those captains who would, what's that line everybody says? It's better to ask for forgiveness than ask for permission.
Yeah.
And Kirk's done that a bit, but like Pike showed that in Discovery season 2, that's just kind of how he captains, and the fact that Spike does what he does, he maybe did get from Pike.
So he adds, I think Pike will give Spock a lot of leash, as we saw with Burnham, but he'll still hold the leash, giving Spock some lessons in humility and cooperation. Do you think that's going to happen?
Again,
I feel like
that goes to the paternal mentor kind of relationship that we're anticipating.
More guiding.
Yep.
I feel like he was pretty, not paternal, but like his relationship with Burnham was, kind of that way, where like he didn't try to control what she did, regardless of if he was running the ship or not, but was just kind of like, hey, let's check out what we're doing here. So more like a guiding hand than an actual forceful captain.
He just sort of wanted to know what was going on because he would probably go along with it. He was like, you're going through it, and I love seeing you evolve and figure yourself out. He like literally says that too.
That's a great point though, Brittany, right? Because he knows Spock, right? And at that point, it's like, okay, well, if I know Spock, then I already kind of know Burnham a little bit. So this is how I'm going to treat her, and I'm going to give her a long leash because I know about this person, I know about her past, what she's done, and we're gonna do it, and it's gonna be okay. And he reprimands her a couple of times, but for the most part, he's like, do your thing within reason. Don't commit mutiny again, but do your thing.
He's like, we'll
Unless there's
discover
a really
how
good
far this
reason.
can go.
Yeah.
And the last part here we have, it's going to be interesting to see how Spock decides to embrace his Vulcan side and reject the human, as the Discovery Spock doesn't seem particularly anti-human. It's a poor term, I'll admit, yet. So I don't think he'll ever really be anti-human.
He wasn't really. I don't think he was anti-human in the original.
I think that he was always struggling with wanting to be like more full Vulcan than embrace his human side, which is of course why in the motion picture he's going under Kolinar. He does want to go full Vulcan and rid himself of any emotion at all. It doesn't end up working, and he leaves, and the I almost called her bitch lady. Vulcan bitch lady is like, don't go, you haven't completed your training, I'll be back, I promise.
But there was always that aspect that Spock wanted more recognition from his father, right?
Yes, exactly.
And I feel like that's why he wanted to go full Vulcan.
Yes. Yep.
Never go full Vulcan.
we are having issues saying Vulcan tonight.
A hard time.
Are you out of your Vulcan mind?
I know this issue has come up in the original series, and that there was this episode where Spock was in charge of a shuttlecraft crew, and that were stranded on a hostile planet, and all his logical choices seemed to be getting people killed or hurt.
Yep, I remember that episode well.
Yeah.
It did not go well.
No.
Yikes.
Sometimes you got to do more than just logic, right? You
Yep.
got to feel that. This is the theater person coming out. Feel it.
You got to be empathetic.
You
Put your mind
feel
in
it.
the mind of another.
Feel
Think
it.
yourself in another's shoes. I don't know why that became our theater,
Nah.
but there you go. When you're just like, relax. Picture a cloud drifting over your body. Feel it in your head all the way down to your toes.
Let your breath come in like a waterfall. Like a waterfall.
Anyway, this is Theater 101.
Well, if we learned anything from the Menagerie, it's that everything's a show.
Yep.
A courtroom show. Anyway.
So,
Agent
As
Uno,
we
I
move
think.
on to submission from Agent Uno. Should I read this
Yes,
first?
you
This is
should.
The last one?
Do
All
it.
right. From Agent Uno. I'm looking forward to Lower Decks, but if they end up doing Rick and Morty style humor, I'm afraid it's going to put a lot of fans off.
I'm with you,
Yeah,
Agent Uno.
I can guarantee they're not going to go
Agreed.
full Rick and Morty. You know,
I
for
love
this.
Rick and Morty,
Never go
but
full
if-
Rick and Morty.
Yeah, no. There was I know when I started watching the Orville, I had a lot of issues because the beginning of the first season felt a lot like Family Guy humor, but they moved they moved away from it as the season progressed, and that's what made Orville better and more Star Trek-y.
And then season 2 just went full on TNG. It wasn't even funny anymore. It was just TNG, which is great.
But yeah, but there were still those
Yeah,
hints,
yeah,
TNG hints of humor, which
Yes.
I enjoyed. But yeah.
I really wish I could watch the Orville right now, but yeah.
Have you not seen
I
it?
missed. Not I missed out at the beginning. My brother kept telling me watch it. Because he said there's a lot of Star Trek to it. And it's like, I think I was kind of
They
anti Seth
definitely
MacFarlane at the time.
There's
Yeah,
points
I
where
was
I'm
like-
shocked that they don't get sued for some of the music that they do because it is so,
So close.
close. And I'm like, ooh.
But
okay.
that's what makes it so good.
Yeah.
It's such a good
Yeah.
parody of Star
Yeah.
Trek. I'll hook you up. Hawk. I'll hook you up. It's all good. That's what we do as podcast people. We hook each other. up.
Yeah, watch each other's backs. So Agent Uno's second point says, even the people I know who thought The Trouble with Edward was hilarious, they really hope that was an isolated thing, as it just seemed to be making fun of Trek, not participating with Trek.
Was it making fun of Trek?
I don't
I
know
mean,
what the
don't-
trouble of Edward is.
It was a
That
short
is the
Trek.
one with the invention of the triple.
Tribbles.
Oh my God, that's the one?
Yeah.
Oh, where he's like, where she's like, he was an idiot.
Yeah.
That's my favorite short
H.
track.
John Benjamin.
I didn't know that was the name of it.
Yeah, he was Archer.
That's
Archer
so
was the
funny.
idiot.
Yes.
I loved Archer. That was a good show.
Yes.
I've never finished Archer, but that is comedy that I have thoroughly enjoyed. Animation, I should say, that I thoroughly enjoyed.
100%. I don't mind that. Like, I don't mind that humor. I think short treks would be great with that type of humor.
Trouble with Edward is freaking fantastic. Period.
Yeah.
Love it.
What if they did animated short treks? Like an entire show. You know what I mean?
Didn't they do one about the tardigrade?
I mean, like a whole series,
yeah.
like a whole thing.
Lower
That-
Decks
I know
Like,
what you're
if
saying.
Lower
Yeah.
Decks
Short
does
treks?
well, maybe,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and it would be called
Like-
Short Decks. I don't know.
Yes.
I'm
It's all
pitching it
just
now.
mini decks.
CBS, hit me up. I got all that access you're looking for.
Now I want to look on the internet if people think that The Trouble with Edward made fun of Star Trek.
I am
But then I
curious.
realized if I went on the internet and checked that out, it would just be anger everywhere.
Well, yeah, dude, I'll just look no further than that stupid Twitter handle, STD sucks. I'm like, dude, do you have no better things to do with your life?
No.
Are they
Anyway.
confused? Do they think like sexually transmitted diseases stuff?
That's what I would hope, right?
Yeah.
But no.
Yeah.
Well,
sorry.
I'm with him on that score then.
Yeah. I want to do the last one because I absolutely love this user's name because it is a Doctor Who reference, and I'm looking at Eric's shirt. It is the SS Madame de Pompadour, which is a reference to one of the best episodes of David Tennant Doctor Who ever. SS Madame de Pompadour says his or her first point says the Menagerie is a tough one for me because it's a very interesting look at the fact that Kirk wasn't always the captain. He had a predecessor who was well liked and well respected, who did an incredibly brave thing and paid a price, arguably worse than death. I would agree with that completely.
Oh, absolutely.
However, for me, it falls into the trap of treating Starfleet a bit too much like the military, And I know it is the de facto military of the Federation, but the entire courtroom drama martial felt off to me. It is one of the episodes that I think will have aged will have aged the best of TOS, though. And knowing Pike as we now know him and seeing the man he was, it's really a tough watch. Yeah, I mean, you hit some good points about it being a tough watch, knowing what happens to him, and getting Anson Mount's take now, which is I could talk about that man forever. I will disagree about the courtroom drama stuff because I think all Star Trek episodes, whether it's TOS, Next Generation, DS9, Voyager, Discovery, yada yada yada, that has dealt with the law and dealt with court martials, have been some of the best Trek television there is. So
I think the only thing that we thought was off was the whole idea of a death penalty, right?
yes, that was weird for sure.
Then I was like, did they do that with the Discovery? Like, was that?
Well, no, Burnham got life in prison. She didn't get the death penalty.
Oh no. I'm talking about at the end of Discovery season 2, when they're like, if anyone talks about Discovery, they get. I think it was the death penalty.
I don't remember that line, but I believe that they would say that. I mean, Starfleet was a bit more harsh back then.
Yeah.
I think who says it? Who says it in? I think it's in Generations. Maybe Picard says it. That it was a bit more cowboy diplomacy, and it was a bit more Wild West when Kirk was around. Things were handled a little bit more differently within the Federation of Starfleet because they were still fairly new. I mean, they were only about 100 years old at that point. So.
Was that Generations, the movie?
I think it was Generations where he talks about that.
He pulls out his VHS.
Yeah. And then the second point from SS Madame de Pompadour, I'm hoping for a much more mentor-mentee relationship with Pike and Spock, something that we've talked about already. I want to see the sheer level of respect that will one day lead him to risk treason charges to rescue him. Yes, I mean, very important. Kirk and Spock always struck me as coming to each other on an equal footing. They value each other's opinions and bounce off of each other, whereas I would like to see Spock learn what he wants in a commanding officer and the man he would like to be seen as through the lens of Pike. Yeah. I mean, and we see Pike, we see Spock eventually become a captain, and I think that is really important. I think that's a great point.
Yeah, you could totally see Spock seeing Pike as a father figure, and that's why he would risk everything for that father figure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And who wouldn't want to learn from Pike anyway? We know Julian would want to learn a fair A mount. Get it? A for Anson?
Over a nice bottle of wine. Oh, I love that, man.
Nicely done, Brittany.
Finally, the last point. I'll watch Lower Decks whenever the UK gets it, along with Short Trek Season 2. It's getting a bit annoying waiting so long for this stuff. If you want piracy, CBS, because this is how you get piracy.
It is true.
Yeah.
It's very true. But I will say I'm not as excited. I'm not really sure who it's for. Yeah, we didn't really talk about this, and that is one of my concerns too. Like, who is Lower Decks for? Is it for fans of Rick and Morty type of humor? Is it for Star Trek fans? Is it for kind of trying to bridge the gap between those people who like that stuff? It's a really good question.
I hope it's for people who like animation, like sci-fi animation, like Futurama. I thought Futurama was a really smart
I love that show.
And all the science in it was done properly because they had science advisors on the show, but it was still really funny. And I hope that's what Lower Decks does. It does smart, funny, sciencey humor.
Also, like Futurama and Simpsons, didn't like half the animators have PhDs?
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure like doctorates and PhDs, and they're just like, we have so much knowledge, we're just throwing it in these shows.
Exactly.
Conan O'Brien was a Harvard graduate, so.
Yeah. This is just a question as a Canadian. Where is all these Star Trek shows showing in the States? Is it just on CBS All
CBS
Access?
All Access, and that's it.
Oh, that sucks.
Sucks.
Like, we have it on TV.
It sucks. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Like, we have it on regular cable.
As much as I don't like giving these people all my money, I will give a little bit of props to CBS All Access because they're airing the episodes in full 4K and Dolby Vision. I've never had any issues with the service. It gives them the freedom, and I know you guys probably have different TV rules in Canada, which is why it can be on TV. It gives them the freedom in the States to be able to swear, take a little bit more risks because it is on the internet. Having said that, I will always be a proponent and one who argues that Star Trek should just be on TV. Always. And I'm hoping Strange New Worlds is.
As a Canadian, we don't care about swearing as much.
No.
Yeah,
Like,
only
you
us
can get
fucking
swearing
pretentious
on every
Americans.
episode. Yeah, the Picard episodes, we got full swear words.
And for
It was after-
full 4K.
yeah.
I think anytime after 8 p.m. I think you're allowed to swear on TV.
We're getting there now with cable.
think-
Like normal cable
they call it-
networks, like FX and AMC and A&E USA. I think it's if a show is after 10 p.m., full swearing. And Snowpiercer is a great example of that. Like even nudity now. So we're getting there.
Yeah, we have
America's
Snowpiercer
such a
on
weird
Netflix.
hypocritical like state. Like it really is, because we have so much like that we have in our entertainment, but then we'll turn around and be like, but there's no swearing right now, and it can't be on TV like this. And then, like the duality of this country, it gives you a headache.
Oh,
It
so
really
much.
does.
Yep.
It's really weird because like we have like CBC. CBC's our Canadian broadcasting channel, and it's our national channel, and we've had nudity on that channel for like years. Like I remember it as a kid and being like, "Why is there nudity on this?" I'm like 15. What is
I think
going on?
we modeled ours after the BBC, and then I think probably the BBC who kind of came up with the idea of watershed. It's that certain time of the evening, and that it's like everything up to then had to follow strict guidelines about family and
Yeah.
morals and that. But then after like 11 or 10 o'clock and that,
It was earlier than that for us.
The
Bring
only
out the
channel we
boobies.
have that's done that is Cartoon Network with Adult Swim. I swear to God.
Well, no, and now we are fine. Like I mentioned, we're finally getting that
Yeah,
where at like
we're
10
getting there.
p.m. those restrictions are gone. So, yeah.
They're like, "Good night, kids."
Yep.
It's our
Fuck
time.
off.
Even though, as an adult, like depending on what job you have, you're like, I also have to go to bed.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
DVR, ladies and gentlemen.
Can I thank SS Madame Pompadour for the fact that now I'm thinking about the lady, the girl in the fireplace?
Girl in the fireplace.
Because I
Yeah.
love that episode so much, and now I'm gonna go and watch it after this.
No, you're not.
Or
You're
I'm
gonna
gonna
play
I'm gonna
Warzone.
play Warzone. I know, but I'll have it on beside me as I'm playing Warzone.
Amazing.
Yeah. Oh, such a good episode.
It really is.
I need to like rewatch Doctor Who
Oh,
one of these days. We were talking about
I have to
X-Files
catch
before, and
up.
also I have to rewatch just everything in my life.
I got to be honest. The last season of Doctor Who, I was not a fan of.
Haven't finished it yet.
It.
I haven't
got
watched the
boring.
new Doctor.
I love her though.
I
but
do love
the
her.
writers. I don't know if they know what to do with her.
Agreed.
Yeah, that sucks.
Yikes.
I'm sad.
All right, Hawk, you wanna take us to Warp?
I would take us to Warp. So next time on a strange new podcast, Star Trek 2009 and Star Trek Into Darkness from 2013. We're holding a watch party leading into the 4th episode where we will compare JJ's version of Pike to Discovery's depiction of the character.
Your father was captain of a starship for 12 minutes. He saved 800 lives, including your mother's and yours. I dare you to do better.
Anywho, I believe that brings us to the end of the episode, the Menagerie of the Mind. I'd like to thank you all for listening. I'd like to thank Brittany, Erik, Julian for being up this late, loopy as we are. And thank you for having me as host. And I hope to see you all again next time. Live long and prosper.